And I give the floor to the Russian Federation. You have the floor, sir.
Minister, we welcome your participation in the meeting today in your capacity as President of the Security Council meeting. We also note the participation in our VTC of the Secretary General of the League of Ahmed Aboulgate. We would like to thank him and the Under Secretary General Rosemary DiCarlo for the information and assessments they provided. We also welcome the participation in this meeting of the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs of Mr. Magagash. We in Russia have been consistently advocating enhanced cooperation between the UN and the League. These two organizations have the same age, and they were created to ensure peace and security both globally and regionally. In order to strengthen this interaction in 2019, the League's headquarters in Cairo opened a liaison office with the UN, and we advocate for the effective use of this channel. Unfortunately, the situation in the Middle East and North Africa remains difficult for very many reasons, including because certain situations remain unsettled very frequently because of foreign interference. We still have hot conflicts in Syria, Libya, Yemen. There's escalation in Western Sahara. There is still efforts needed to strengthen stability in Iraq. Urgent steps are needed in order to break the impasse on the central issue for the region, namely the Israeli-Palestinian settlement. We expect that what has been happening recently in the region, the normalization that is of relations between a number of Arab states with Israel, will not lead to further deprivation of rights of the Palestinian people, but rather with help with the fair settlement of Israeli-Palestinian differences on the basis of international law. All of these pressure points result in the strengthening of radical sentiments and growing displays of extremism. It's becoming increasingly important to work out collective measures in order to counter the threat of terrorism. The coronavirus pandemic has added to the already difficult socioeconomic and humanitarian situation in a number of Arab states. And this state of affairs requires a heightened level of cooperation between the United Nations and the League on such issues as countering new challenges, peacekeeping, and joint prevention of conflict escalation in the region. This would also help settling the existing problems and differences peacefully without external interference, whilst at the same time taking into account the interests of all involved and on the basis of international law. And for this reason, there is a growing usefulness and need for the League as a mechanism for multilateral dialogue for regional actors. We think it's important to enhance coordination between the League and the UN Special Envoys on overcoming crises in the Arab region in order to ensure that there is a better understanding of the nature of emerging issues and the possibility of finding joint ways out of the situations. We're interested in having a strong, united, and effective the League of Arab States. This will burnish the image of Arab countries in preventing and resolving conflicts. We think that attempts to prevent the closing and coming together of Arab states among themselves on the part of external players for their own interests are immoral and unacceptable. We are of the view that the interaction between the UN and regional organizations needs to be based on accepting that the regional actors have the leading role in determining how differences should be settled in that part of the world. Given the League's potential in disseminating the interreligious and interethnic culture of peace, in combating radical and extremist ideology, it's important to make sure there is a dialogue between the UN and the League on the issue of the situation of Christians and other religious and ethnic minorities impacted by conflicts. Mr. President, it's in the interest of all states in the Arab regions and beyond to reject mutual recriminations and suspicions, even more so to reject the unilateral sanctions, pressure, and provocations. Unfortunately, what we're witnessing is not the lowering, but rather artificially an increase by the U.S. administration of tension in the Persian Gulf, and this has a stabilizing influence on in international relations as a whole. The need to de-escalate the situation is there, and this was confirmed by a Security Council VTC in October 2020, which was presided by Minister Lavrov. Mr. Abulgate, we value very highly the statement you made at that meeting, where you unequivocally state that the League is looking for diplomatic solutions to existing differences. We, in turn, would like to reiterate our readiness to help normalize the situation in any way, both in our national capacity as well as through a collective format, including through the interaction between the League and the UN. We have put forward an initiative on regional security. It's aimed at abandoning confrontational approaches and moving forward with a constructive, a unifying agenda. The Russian concept of collective security in the Persian Gulf is an invitation to dialogue, a dialogue in which the League of Arab States can play an important role. And this is an invitation to peace in counterbalance to an invitation to war. On Martin Luther King's Day, I would like to, in the wake of what was done by the American colleague, also recall yet another quote by Dr. King. The quote which they apparently do not like reiterating.
To spend more money on military defense than on programs of social uplift is approaching spiritual doom. A nation that continues year after year to spend more money on military defense than on programs of social uplift is approaching spiritual doom. Необходимо прекратить.
We need to start displaying our weapons and stop the arms race in the region. Mr. President, we will continue strengthening our partnership with the League on urgent international regional issues. We are using for that the mechanism we have, which is a Russian-Arab Cooperation Forum. The forum held the fifth ministerial session, was held in Moscow in 2019. And it resulted in a plan of action and a joint communique, and they both confirm how close, how overlapping our positions are on a wide range of issues. We expect that the dialogue in this format will continue as the pandemic recedes. In this regard, I would like to also say that we stand ready to discuss our joint efforts on how to combat the COVID-19. Mr. President, Mr. Abulgate, we emphasize that we intend to strengthen Russian-Arab friendship and cooperation, and we will help facilitate the cooperation between the UN and the League of Arab States as well. I thank you.
I thank the representative of the Russian Federation for his briefing